popularly used modules that have sort of egregious accessibility errors, we do that. Some of us evaluate and test the modules. There's a list on Drupal.org of good accessible, like this module is completely accessible. There's modules that increase the accessibility of your site, such as you can use this to make your text larger, that sort of thing. But if there's something like, well, for instance, one of the core themes that was going into Drupal 7 had a problem with keyboard focus, so when you tab to the links, they were using an external CSS file that made that indicative border go away. And so we brought that to their attention, a patch was offered, and it was committed to head, and so then it was fixed. So certainly when there's core issues, and when there's popularly contributed modules having issues, we try to make sure that that's known, and if possible, try to contribute patches. We are working towards Drupal 7, sort of like a hall of fame of really good accessible modules, so sort of encouraging module developers. If you make your site, you pledge to make your module accessible, and then we can evaluate your module. If you claim that it's accessible, we'll evaluate it, and if it indeed is, then you're going to go into this page and have, like, they claimed accessibility, and it will pass the test of accessibility, so it's safe to use this module.
You were saying how many people are committed to accessibility?
Oh, I make it sound like an awful lot of people now. There's a fair enough number of people. The community itself is probably about, I don't know, about 100 strong or so, maybe more than that online. In terms of the really active members, I'd say there's probably about maybe 15 or 20 super active members, and then beyond that, semi-active members would be probably 60 or 70. So there are a few people who just kind of sit and watch. There are some who write code every single day, and then there are some who kind of come when they can, and when there's big accessibility issues, they come in and help. So there's definitely an interest in it.
Turning off JavaScript has been a hotly debated item on campus. So I noticed you have turning off JavaScript as one of your steps. Can you go into that more? You said it's not because...
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at statistics, less than 5% of users don't have JavaScript turned on by nature on a website. This includes users with and without assistive technologies. So it's tempting to think that we should just turn off JavaScript, and because that's what, or offer a no script alternative for assistive technology users. But the fact is, a screen reader just works with a browser, and a browser will often have JavaScript enabled, and screen readers can actually receive information put out there by jQuery, RSS feed, controller, or something like that. When you get into the trickier stuff like drag and drop, or even something like an image rollover put out by JavaScript, or randomly updating content, a screen reader would have a problem getting through that. And in some situations, it's going to be preferable that the JavaScript would be turned off if the user has a cognitive disability. Motion kind of can draw the eye away from the content, and someone with a cognitive perceptual problem may have a problem looking at all of your content. So while they may not be able to actually turn off JavaScript, what would be preferable in that situation would be to offer a way for assistive technology users to actually just turn off that piece of content, like hide this region of animated content. But really, many assistive technology users do have JavaScript enabled, but do have a problem proceeding or operating in JavaScript controls. So they would be able to see it, so they wouldn't be able to benefit from the no-script alternative, but they wouldn't be able to use it. So by turning it off, we simply make sure that if I miss out on the JavaScript experience on this page, I can still do whatever is offering.
If I may mention quickly, the no-script extension for Firefox makes it very easy to do it site by site, and even have part of your, like if you're gathering JavaScript from different domains onto one page, that some of them might be enabled and some not be enabled. And I specifically use it both for safety and to turn off annoying things.
Well, let's give Kate a big round of applause. Completely impromptu. I just at the conference was like, hey, can you come talk to SF State? And she's like, sure, come right over. So this was like completely off the wall, and I really appreciate you bringing the time up here. Thanks. So I guess I'll give you guys, 5 minutes while I set up here, but I'll probably set up pretty quick because we have a lot to go through. And before going too far into things, I want to say that I encourage you to stick around at lunchtime if you want to ask me or anybody else questions. There's also the Drupal course grant going on at the same time, and they have said that they're willing to answer questions if people are actually interested in real code, hardcore stuff like that. There are some Drupal course printers that would be interested in talking to you guys. So if you talk to me after this, I can go over, give you the introduction to Kieran Ball, who works for Acquia with Drupal, and he will get you guys connected with what you need to do. So let's see if I can bring this up here. Okay, so pay attention to code spread. Anybody else has accessibility questions? They're over at 675-ish, that area. Yeah, I'm going to be working on that. I'll show you guys. First off, this is, thanks to Vika, I created this issue for relying on color to indicate a field validation error. And to show how big, this community is, there is this thing I started that I had no idea it would go this far. There's 137 replies to this. And even Dries Vitart, the creator of Drupal, has been on this queue. Angie Byron, the current committer, she's been in here on this issue queue. So they're very serious about Drupal accessibility, and it's because of Vika that I became a sort of accessibility evangelist. So thanks, Vika, for promoting accessibility on campus. I give you an applause. So the first thing I was going to say is that I finally found a use for Twitter. It's not completely unuseful after all. At the conference, we were all tweeting about DrupalCon stuff, so if I brought up here still, there's probably a lot of DrupalCon tweets still going on. So if you're ever at a conference or you want to know people doing Drupal stuff right away, you can see that it was a pretty amazing use for that. I know some of you might be like, oh, that's what these kids do these days, right? But it's pretty easy to get going with. You can see I'm on my Windows machine today. Yesterday I was on my Linux box, but today I was less afraid to open up and get a McAfee thing going. You guys saw that. Let's see if this will come up. I'm going to be going back and forth between the slides a lot. I'm going to be talking about a lot of things with Drupal. We'll go through setting up a Drupal on the local computer, but we don't have time to walk you guys through doing it on your computer. But we have previously offered a training at SF State where we showed developers how to install local development Drupal environment on your computer. I'm very hopeful. I believe we're going to offer that training again in the near future, maybe as soon as next month, but sometime in the near future. And in that training, we actually walk you through, getting your Drupal install set up. So you won't leave without having Drupal installed and set up for you. And that's, I'll go ahead and point out, got some student assistants here, Jason De Silva and Anaru Shukla. They're also available to help answer questions about getting Drupal set up. My fellow developer, Supakit, who is my cohort in arms and pushing all this Drupal stuff out. Thanks very much, Nat. And also Quan, who's been actually having to work with Drupal and experiencing some of the pain of what we're still working out with issues. So if you need to commiserate, he's been working on that stuff. Let's see. So DrupalCon, I've been at DrupalCon parties all week, so these slides are a bit put together at 1 a.m. last night. So sorry if it's a little messy. We mentioned in the other slide, Sean mentioned a lot of places you can go to get Drupal information. We have a Drupal group on campus, drupal.sfsu.edu/Drupal. We have a lot of training materials up there. We're putting more training materials up every day.